Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I'd like to update you with regards to these two individual cases. I'll be speaking specifically about the Indignity case, and Det.Sgt.Pauline Gray will be speaking about Rigat Ghirmay's investigation. In addition, I have Superintendent John Tanoia. He's the unit commander from 51 Division. He is present and he is prepared to answer any questions that the media has at the completion of the press conference. And in addition, Superintendent Doug Kwan from 12 Division, he is the unit commander there in the division in which Ms. Ghirmay's human remains were found, and he also will be available to answer any questions. It's with great pleasure that the Homicide Squad announces that we've made an arrest in relation to both of these investigations. The accused in this case, his name is Adonay Zekarias. He's a 42-year-old Eritrean immigrant, and he will be charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in relation to the 2 individual women that I've just spoken about. I'd like to speak briefly about, specifically about my investigation with regards to Det.Sgt.Pauline. It goes back to the 23rd of October in 2012 at approximately 7 o'clock in the morning, almost 1 year ago. The attack took place on the south side of 510 Ontario Street after the deceased had left work as a cleaner, as a supervisor within the cleaning department at the Delta Chelsea Hotel. It was dark out. She left when it was dark. It was pouring rain that particular morning, and she left on foot after her shift to walk home. The deceased walked through the Green Pea parking lot just west of Bleecker Street, heading towards her home on Winchester Street. And she took her normal route, which is on the south side of 85 Bleecker Street, and she passed a video camera at that location. She has the umbrella down closely around her head. It's pouring rain, and she's completely unaware of her surroundings. Approximately 1 minute or so to her rear is the offender walking behind her. He has his hand, a right hand inside his jacket. There's very little doubt in my mind that he's holding a knife. He attacks the deceased on the south side of 510 Ontario Street, and she's stabbed with a 20-centimeter kitchen blade. She stabbed numerous times, and at that particular time, hearing the screams of the deceased, an individual who is in the area confronts the accused while the attack is ongoing. He is holding a black umbrella that can be seen in some of the scene photographs, and he keeps the offender at bay using the umbrella as a shield. The offender disengages from the attack, and he runs back through the same south side of 85 Bleecker Street, and he's recorded by the same camera as he runs now westbound and out of sight. Examination of the scene by the Center of Forensic Sciences indicated that there was male DNA. I know now it to be the offender's DNA is underneath her fingernails. There was DNA blood found on the umbrella, on the canvas umbrella that was used by the Good Samaritan to stave off the attack. And in addition, the deceased was carrying a khaki canvas bag, and there was DNA offender blood found on that particular bag as well. And all 3 sources link biologically to the offender. I believe that Ms. Semrit scratched the offender during her attack, and that's how the DNA of the offender ended up underneath her fingernails. I also indicated back in May that I believe that the offender was wounded during the attack and that he was bleeding as a result of the knife that he used during this particular attack. And in fact, the offender was wounded, and the wound was quite substantial. Ms. Semrit fought for her life against her attacker, and in doing so, caused the offender to injure himself, and in doing so, left DNA behind at the scene for us to find and to link to Detective Sergeant Gray's investigation. As I indicated to you, the wound was substantial, and the wound was medically treated. I indicated in May that the accused was familiar with the Cabbagetown area, and he is familiar with the Cabbagetown area and has been so for a substantial period of time. You'll hear also from Detective Sergeant Gray that the 2 cases are biologically connected to each other in relation to DNA found in her case and in my case. Evidence will show that Ms. Semrit and the offender knew each other, but the difficulty that we have is that the motive for the attack on Ms. Semrit by the offender still remains unclear. And as a result of it, traditionally, we do not release the offender's photograph unless it serves an investigative purpose. So I am releasing the offender's photograph. It's here on the screen to my right, your left. And I am asking the public, with the assistance of the media, to assist us with regards to the motive as to why the accused, Mr. Zekarias, would have been waiting for Ms. Semrit in the rain and in the dark. It's clear now that he would have been familiar with her route home, and he was standing out of sight of her direction of travel home, and he attacked her from behind for an obviously very specific purpose. But that precipitating event still remains unclear, and I am hoping that there's members of the public out there that will be able to provide us with some clarity in relation to this particular individual. I would like to briefly acknowledge the hard work and dedication of the biology section of the Center of Forensic Sciences with regards to the numerous submissions that were delivered to the center in relation to both of these two investigations, and it was quite debilitating, and I appreciate their efforts. In addition, there was numerous forensic identification officers assigned to this case. Detective Constable Sue Cieslik is here. She is one of the lead investigators on these cases, and I appreciate her hard work and dedication. And I also would like to acknowledge the individual investigators and detectives on my team and Detective Sergeant Gray's team with regards to their hard work and commitment to determining what had happened to these two particular women. It's really a strong and positive day for community safety in relation to this individual's detention and continued detention and apprehension, and I'm sure it'll make a big difference in the community. He's obviously a dangerous individual, certainly to vulnerable women in the community, and I'm sure that the two superintendents here will be able to comment further on that. So I'd like to invite Detective Sergeant Gray up to the podium, and then we'll each answer some questions at the end.
Morning, everybody, or afternoon. I'm the officer in charge of what will be Homicide 46 for 2013. That is the death of Rigat Ghirmay. Mr. Zekarias was charged with indignity of a dead body May 26, 2013, in regards to Rigat. Investigation continued from that point, and during that investigation, we were able to identify a DNA source from Rigat's home. That DNA source was originally used to identify positively her body so that her family could take her home to be buried. From that DNA, we were able to extract DNA of Mr. Zekarias as well, which led us to the secondary scene. Gary mentions that the picture is something that we don't always do. I, too, need some assistance from the public. At this point, we only have a portion of Ms. Ghirmay's body. We are looking for the remaining remains of this young lady, and I'm hoping that on May 24th, 2013 to May 26th, 2013, I'm sorry, May 17th, 2013 to May 24th, 2013. Somebody may have seen this gentleman with what we believe is luggage, wheeled luggage and duffel bag type luggage. It would, of course, appear heavy. One of them, in fact, was a knapsack. We're looking for anyone who might have seen this gentleman anywhere from the East End, that being the address of Ms. Ghirmay on Shooter Street, to his address on Humber Boulevard. Gare? Again, to reiterate what Detective Sergeant Giroux has said, we had incredible cooperation with all the agencies in this matter. It certainly wouldn't have been able to come to such a quick result without their dedicated response.
Pauline, the victim in your case was murdered around the same time, if not shortly after you guys revealed the fact that you had DNA from Nagisi Semrit's killer. Is there any indication that your victim knew what her boyfriend had allegedly done?
Yes. I believe, and it's my personal opinion and theory, that Rigat did know or had figured out what Mr. Zekarias had done, and had either confronted him or had let him know that she, in fact, knew that he was the murderer of Nagisi.
Did she contact you guys? Contact police?
No.
And so is that the motive that you're working on in your case then?
Yes, ma'am.
Detective Giroux,
Yes.
could you tell us why knowing the motive is important to your case? What it means?
Yep. Well, I can indicate to you from the numerous conversations I've had with the Crown attorneys who are assigned to this, motive isn't a particularly imperative element of a murder prosecution. Unlike what you see and hear on television, it's not necessary to go before a jury without a motive, but it does help average members of the community understand why people kill other people. And as a result of it, that element would be of an assistance to the prosecution in relation to what was the precipitating event that Ms. Semret is alleged to have done to Mr. Zekarias that would cause him to murder her in this particular way, in a very, very violent way.
Does knowing about it help you find more evidence in an investigation like this?
It potentially opens up, an understanding into the offender and why the offender conducts himself in a certain way. And so the community, in this particular case, has been rather closed-lipped. We've been hearing rumors from the community with regards to reasons why things might have happened, but they're not evidence unless people from the community can step up and tell us exactly what it is. And we're hoping that if the community knows that the offender is going to be charged and detained, that they may feel comfortable in coming forward.
Gary, I know you said you're still trying to figure out to what extent they had a relationship, but you said that you're confident that they were known to each other. Can you say to what extent you're aware of? Were they friends? Were they just known to each other through the Eritrean community?
They were known to each other through the Eritrean community, and they had some connection with each other in a transition home within the community. When people arrive from Africa, they spend time climatizing to Canada and getting assistance from the community, and as a result of that, they were in the same residence at the same time. I don't have specifically the date. It was in and around the time that that Mr. Zekarias arrived in Canada.
Was he ever on your radar when you were doing your initial background investigation on her?
No, he wasn't.
So, sorry, were all three of them in the transition community or transition home at the same time?
My investigators have indicated that Mr. Zekarias and Ms. Semret were in the transition house at the same time.
Are you surprised that the community, you said they were fairly tight-lipped? Are you surprised by that? Obviously, you approached them from the beginning.
Well, I mean, the difficulty is the traditional feeling of uncomfortableness with regards to dealing with the police and murder investigations. We experience it on a daily basis. But this particular community, I'm hoping now will be able to give us some insight into the offender and into the victim's lifestyle that will make things a little clearer for the prosecution down the road.
How is he known to that? How is he familiar with that area?
He's familiar because of the fact that he stayed in this transition home and then spent time living there and climatizing to Canada.
You said before, Gary, and one investigator has that Zekarias and Ghirmay were cleaners at a downtown hotel. They didn't work at the same hotel as Ms. Semret?
You know, we're still looking into the possibility that their paths may have crossed in the cleaning business. I've said before, and if I haven't, I apologize, that Ms. Semret can be, as a supervisor, I understand, was very demanding of her staff. And we looked at the investigative theory that the possibility existed that, a cleaner such as this individual was present maybe even for a short period of time, and she may have been critical of him and he may have been discharged. Now, that would be a clear motive in relation to why he did what he did, but at this point, I don't have that type of information.
What are the charges?
There's 2 counts of first-degree murder.
So will he face those at the court appearance tomorrow morning then?
Actually, Mr. Zekarias is at court today, 2201 Finch, probably as we speak.
Did the victims know each other?
We have no indication that, again, that they knew each other directly, but it's a fairly small community, and there's lots of events. So they may have passed each other, they may have known each other peripherally, but certainly we have no indication at this point that they were friends or that they were acquaintances.
And when do you believe that confrontation happened? After you guys went public about the DNA or long before?
No, we believe the confrontation happened within a week or so afterwards, after Gary's last press conference, when he disclosed that, in fact, that there was DNA at his scene and that the offender was, in all likelihood, injured.
Is the,
Go ahead.
is the second victim considered linked at all to the first murder in any way? Like after the fact or anything like that, or was she just completely innocent in this?
Oh, you mean as opposed into
Originally, is there any connection to her to the first murder?
No, absolutely not. No. Rigat was Mr. Zekarias's supporter, She helped him through school. She was she's sort of patron saint of lost puppies. Her brothers. She was a bit of a fan of the underdog, and so she was supporting him through his English language studies and helping him try to find work.
We believe that there's a possibility that the murder of Rigat Ghirmay is linked to Negisti Semret's investigation, based on the fact that on the day that Mr. Zekarias murdered Miss Semret, he returned home and interacted with Miss Ghirmay with those substantial injuries that I described. And I indicated that he was wounded on his hands, it might have been hands or arms, and he was wounded on both. And as a result of it, he was bleeding. He sought medical treatment, and Miss Ghirmay was present for that and must have been interested as to what happened to him. And our concern is that the murder of Miss Ghirmay has a lot to do with what happened to Miss Semret.
She put that together, see if this one was very new, I guess?
She may have. She may have.
Did she talk to anybody else about this? Her suspicions about what he may have done?
Not that we know of.
And Pauline, can you just go over for us what the allegations are in your case? Because I know you guys had said back in May that there were 2 crime scenes, her apartment, his apartment. Do you believe that she was killed at her apartment, dismembered at his apartment? What's the link there?
What I know to be true is that Ms. Ghirmay's body was both at her apartment and at his apartment. What the mechanics are of it, I mean, we'll continue to work on, but the portion of her body that we did find, we found about 300 meters from his apartment. So at some point, her body has come, whether in pieces or as one corpse from her residence to his.
And nothing further found since then, no other body parts?
No, nothing.
What is that's believed to be outstanding? One suitcase?
I certainly just my theory is we probably have 4 bags, probably 3 bags and a backpack.
From his apartment that are missing, or from hers as well?
That I know to be used. I can't say where they're from, but that I believe to be used.
You saw on surveillance video?
Yes.
Thank you very much. This
Okay.
concludes the conference. The information